Hello, everyone, and welcome to our October call for our Power Platform UX, UI, and Accessibility User Group. So we are an official Microsoft user group. So we apply with the Microsoft event conduct code of conduct. So if you see something that doesn't look right or doesn't feel right for you, please do contact either myself, Charlie, or Kat, and we'll be able to help you. Or you can go directly to Microsoft and contact them either by email or by the telephone. So in our meeting, we are asking everyone to be welcoming and respectful, and we are welcome any questions and also any viewpoints for everyone. Please do use the chat and ask all the questions. In general, we tend to ask for everyone to keep the questions till the end, so our speakers can have the time to present, and the question will follow. If you do need to, if you do have a specific question at the time and you really want to, you can also raise your hand, but please allow either us or the speaker to let you speak. Also, just to let you know, as usual, we record our calls especially for those who cannot make it our live call. We have a YouTube channel where all the recordings will be uploaded within day or two after this call. Also, again, we would love to see you. So please feel free to turn your camera on. Don't be shy, unless you don't want to, because as I said, the meeting is recorded. And through the meeting, we encourage everyone to also use the meeting reactions, either the clap or the thumbs up or the hearts. It's really good and encouraging for our speakers. Last thing to add before we're going to move on to our presentation is the open and ongoing call for speakers. Really encourage everyone to submit your session. We have so many amazing speakers so far, and we would love for you to also come and present for us. And without further ado, we would like to move to the presentations for today. We have two amazing lady speakers, which I think it's first for our user group. So thank you so much. So for the first presentation, we have Saumya, who will be presenting for us Empowering Insights, Power BI meets Copilot, the future of AI-driven analytics. So over to you, Saumya, whenever you are ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Today, I'll be talking about Power BI Copilot. So we all are quite aware about this tool called Power BI. I'll talk about the integration of Copilot in it. That'll be the agenda of this presentation. Before we get started, I quickly want to introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Saumya. I am a business consultant based out of India. I work primarily with low-code, no-code platforms, GenAI, Microsoft Copilot Studio, and creation of agents. So you can please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I am annoyingly active there, so beware, just a disclaimer. You can also get in touch with me on TopMate. I'm a creator there. And if very unlikely, if I don't get any response in the first two, you can reach out to me via email as well. But hi, really nice to see all of you. Okay, we'll dive into the agenda quickly. So we'll firstly look at why we use Power BI, a very high-level overview of mainly what we focus on. We'll then move on to how Copilot is getting integrated within Power BI. Third, we look at some prerequisites before we start using Copilot within Power BI. Then we'll move on to seeing some demo in action. I will try to keep it short to maintain the time that I've been given, but yeah, we'll see a quick demo as well. Then we'll talk a little bit about the licensing, how you can get started at your level, and lastly, some key takeaways just to wrap up the entire session. I hope you're excited and we can quickly jump right in. Okay. So why to use Power BI? So I generally try to bucket this in three different sections. The first would be transformation of data. So the data is generally that we use for Power BI is generally raw in nature. What we do is we clean it, we shape it, we try to put relationships on it. And that is the way we transform data. And Power BI is a very strong Power Query tool that can do this. So the first thing we use Power BI very effectively is as ETL tools to transform the data that we already have into some meaningful data. Second, post the data is ready, we want to establish relationships between two or more tables. So this data is generally in tables, and we establish relationships between them to have hierarchies set, or to define the schema of how the tables gonna look like, the data types, etc. And some calculations that we want to do is also something we can do within this section. So semantic modeling is the second one of the biggest reasons why we use Power BI. And thirdly, I work primarily with enterprise grade solutions. So it deals with huge data, and it is one of the most used reporting platforms for enterprise grade level. Mostly the people who consume these dashboards would be citizen developers or executives who want to have a quick picture of what the data looks like. And we'll look at a demo where this will be more clear of why we use Power BI. But yeah, altogether, we have Power Query, which is a data transformation engine. We have semantic modeling, which establishes relationship between different data types, and we have report. It is a platform to report data in a visual format on the enterprise grade level. Okay, so having said that, now what we do is we already know that it's a reporting platform. It's a data transformation engine. What we do is we combine it with Copilot, which here is more than just a buzzword. So when we combine the two, we have some faster, accurate, and powerful insight generation that takes place within Copilot, within Power BI Copilot. We look at a demo to understand how powerful this can be. And this is regardless of the data complexity and the data size, which is also something I'm going to talk about a little bit. But yeah, so this is what I'm going to talk about, how Power BI capabilities can be enhanced and escalated along with Copilot capabilities. Okay. So before we dive into seeing what it actually is in action, there are some things that we need to get done before we get started. So the first is data loading. So as I talked about it, there's a lot of data that we need to load first to have transformations and visualizations on them. So firstly, we need to ensure that the Power BI report that you are working on to have this Copilot working on it needs to already have the data set. Now, this data source are multiple. You can have it via Excel. You can directly join it with a Salesforce agent as well. But yeah, it needs to be already added, and it can be in different modes. So there's something called a live connection, wherein the data is refreshed live in real time. We have an import mode, and we also have a dual or a hybrid mode. So any of them works, but data needs to be loaded before. Second, what we need to do is the transformation in the data, which is cleaning or establishing relationships, needs to also occur beforehand before we start using Copilot. So the more transformed data you give to Copilot, the better it's going to work. And thirdly, the semantic modeling, which is defining the relationships as we talked about in the why slide. So, defining all the facts, the dimensions, the keys, etc., so that we can understand what data needs to be picked up first. So only when you have these three in place, maybe we can get started with what Copilot can do over and above what a normal developer can do, right? Okay. So for the demo today and for the scope of this presentation, we will be talking about three different capabilities of Copilot. The first one would be smart narrative. It's a very powerful insight generation tool. So many a times the data that you have is overwhelming, and as an executive end user or a citizen developer, all you need to know is what the story is about the data or driving insights from it. That is where smart narrative comes into picture. So it is quickly just prompting to find the insights generated from not just that page that you're working on, but the entire data dashboard and also the data behind the dashboards. Sorry. Okay, that's first. Second would be Q&A Copilot, and that's a classic Copilot use case. I believe every one of you who have used Copilot, Microsoft, or ChatGPT, Gemini, any, essentially it's a Q&A. So it's going to be a natural language process where you'll be checking the questions in, and based on the capabilities and the data modeling, the Copilot will be returning answers. We'll see some examples of this as well. Okay. And thirdly, I think we'll just try to cover it if time permits. But we have DAX queries. Now, this is also something like an auto completion, wherein you can either ask exactly what you want, and the DAX queries will be prepared from Copilot. And secondly, you can have an existing DAX that you can get explained as well or completed. So it's auto completion or generation of DAX queries. So that would be the third part that we'll be seeing. So those are the capabilities that we'll be looking at today in our demo. And with that, I think we can move on to the action. So I'll quickly reshare my screen. And meanwhile, if you have any questions or any feedback, please feel free to put it in the chat. Okay. 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 Is my Power BI screen visible?
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. Okay, great. So, like I said, I have already prepared this screen. It is basically talking about the different number of cases that were registered during the COVID-19 in United States. So we have a state-wise division on this screen, wherein we see a couple of states of US and the number of cases that were there, the number of fatalities that happened, and also the rate. Then we have some confirmed and total deaths as well. And I will try to, yeah. We also have some bar graphs, we have some methodologies and how these is coming up, how the data sources are looking like. And that's page one. Then we pick one of these states, which is Illinois, and we go to the county-based view of that as well. So again, the same data, but this is now basically just for the state. So for different counties of the state, this is the data that we are looking at. Okay, so this is data from 2020 to 2023, which was, I think, the main periods of COVID was 2020 and 2021. So this is the data I've already prepared. This is the dashboard. Now I'll quickly have you look at the simple data modeling that I've done. So not very complex. We have 4 tables only. We have a dim table, which talks about all the state level details. Then we have it connected with the COVID, the details of it, the fact table. And then we have 2 different tables. One is COVID measures. Then all the numbers that you're looking at are represented by one of the measures that we created. And lastly, we have a table as well. This will tell us all the orders in which we are going to see the data. So very simple modeling. I've tried to keep it very straightforward so that we can focus more on the capability of Copilot. Yeah, okay. Then we have the tables. I think we already talked about it. Very simple, don't have a lot of data here as well. Quite limited number of rows for each of the tables. So very straightforward, very classic enterprise grade solution that we're looking at. Okay. So the first thing that we'll be looking at is smart narrative, right? So smart narrative will talk about the insight generation on top of the data that we're looking at. So if you go into visualizations here, and this is called smart narrative. The moment I click it, it's settled here. And if you see here, I'll maybe place it here for better visibility. It uses Copilot preview and it also can use custom, but currently we'll be using it Copilot. So once I click on it, there you go. So we need to clearly just describe what summary we want from the visuals and also the visuals that it should reference. So currently it's on the current page. We can also make it for all the pages by selecting all, or we can reduce to only a single visual that we want to talk about. Now for this, the purpose of this demo, maybe I can just select the first screen that we're looking at, which is the main screen. And that's going to be the scope of this. And with respect to what we want to generate, let's play around a little bit. So we will maybe look at an executive summary. We'll also try to keep the output in bullets for better readability. If you want to add any additional questions, and you can also add it to the comment, like the chat here, I can include it. If Anna can help me with the chats, I'm not able to see. But yeah, this is what we are playing with. So we want an executive summary indicating some important takeaways. We want it to be in the bullet forms. And that's for the entire main page. Let's update it and see what it pulls up. Okay, and in terms of the response time, it is generally pretty quick unless there's not an enormous amount of data. The speed and the response time here is quite quick. So I think the executive summary is already generated. I'll try to make it a little bigger for better readability. So if you see, March recorded the highest number of COVID details. California reported the most confirmed cases. We also see the number of deaths there. The overall fatality rate was high daily. So basically, it is a complete and overall executive summary for somebody who do not have the time to go through every single detail in this chart or in this dashboard. We can, however, also change it to something like, based on this data, what questions are likely to be asked by leadership? And this is something that is a very common question for Power BI developers. And now that is a problem that now Copilot solves with it. So we also need the answers to this question. And again, the scope would remain to current screen only. Let's update it and see what we get. So ideally, it should have a set of questions and answers based on the business. Okay, and there you go. So these are the questions that leadership might be asking. What states have the highest and lowest number of COVID cases? What is the overall fatality rate in US? What months are the highest and the lowest number of this, extra, etc. So if you see here, all this is based on the data that we've already provided with in here in the visual. So that's the power of the first feature that we want to see, which is smart narrative, wherein we draw insights from the existing data and we can increase or decrease the scope as well. Yeah. Okay, so we can move on to the next one, which is gonna be the chat, which is the classic Q&A of Copilot, which is also integrated here. If you see here within the chatbot as well, we have 3 different types where we can go from here. We can create a new page entirely if you have something already in your mind, which we'll see in a bit. We can also ask them to suggest content based on the data that it has. And interestingly, this data is not just focusing on the visual that we are looking at or the entire dashboard. It is also looking at the data modeling that we've done at the backend. So everything is included in these 3 sections. So if I want it to maybe create and suggest content for a new report page, it will just take into account all the data that has already been used, that is going to be important, and that is how it's going to suggest it. And lastly, it's if you have a database question, a very simple question answer, then you can do the third one. So let's start with the simplest one, which is the third one. And it's asking me to ask a Q&A question. So let's maybe start with the state with the most number of COVID deaths and see if it is able to pull it up. Again, the response time would look like less than half a minute, depending on how much data it is. So I think the answer is here. So it says that California has the most number of deaths, and it is also quoting the number. It is also telling me what is text and word as following it. Okay. Maybe we can find another question. This can maybe be on the second page. And that's what I wanted to show you in terms of, we are currently at the main page. Let's ask a question from the county view page, right? So I want the top counties based on the total number of confirmed cases. So this is going to be Illinois specifically. Let's see if he's able to pull it up. We'll also confirm the data and the answers once it's pulled up. Okay, so let's check if that is correct. So these are the number of counties in Illinois, and yeah, looks like it's correct. So Cook County comes first, then we have the due page, and then we have the Will County. Okay, and it's also now asking the content. So if you see here, it is also giving us the reference of which visual it is coming from, right? So the confirmed cases, total deaths, and case fatality rate is something that it is choosing to get this answer, right? Okay, we can do one more and then we can move on. Right. So maybe we can check for the fatality rate per state. So this should go back to the main page and go through the entire states, and that is how it should answer. So let's see if it is able to. Now, of course, these questions would be for the scope of this demo. I've kept it pretty straightforward. But if the data modeling is right and the data is clearly cleaned and visualized and transformed, we can also go to asking a little bit of complex questions as well. Of course, within the diaspora of the data. But yeah. So yeah, we have the answer here. The case fatality rates are right across, and I think it should be correct. Okay, Sounds good. Perfect. So yeah, there you go. So this is how you can use the Q&A feature. Another thing that we can explore here is creating a new page altogether. And this is where I'm going to mention some of the limitations that we have seen with Copilot, since it is ultimately an assistant and it is not a developer of its own. So let's create a new report page here. And I already have something in mind. So let's just try to create that first. Okay, so it is recommending me some questions, some ideas as well. I have my own, so let's try to do that and see what it creates. So ideally, it should create a new page altogether. And looks like it did. Awesome. So it says that the new report is done, and here's the outline. It has created a bar chart for me for the case fatality rate by state. And okay, let's add something to it, right? Let's do another visual, for example. So I want to do maybe a pie chart this time, and I want to do by death by the cities. So like a distribution of it, and ideally it should be adding here only. And this is where the limitation comes into picture. So if you saw, I clearly asked to add a pie chart, but since it was taking the context from the previous one, it just created the same visual with a different data, right? So of course, like stated before multiple times, Copilot remains as an assistant, but it is a great starting point to enhance productivity. Now, how we can do it? If we click here, the data is already populated here with the right data. All we need to do is click on this visual and change it to pie chart, and we'll get a pie chart. A little bit cluttered here, but yeah. The point being, it is a great starting point. It can give you a good head start for multiple use cases, maybe complex, maybe easy. And a lot of times it can give you the exact thing that you want to do. So if you use it like an assistant, it can enhance your productivity and get you much better quality results as well. Okay. Okay, I think I do not have a lot of time here, but maybe we can see one example of DAX. I don't want to make it a lot of complexity here, but let's just, okay. So we have seen Copilot multiple times in Word, in PPTs, in Excel, and just like a simple control, I can get you to describe what you want, and you can just create the formulas from it. That's exactly what we are going to do here. So if I click on this icon, it is asking me to describe exactly what I want. So this is a quick 7-day moving average. It's a very common average system that we use when we are talking about data. So I'll just put this up and see what it pulls up. This is also another great example of it only being an assistant and not a developer. And it'll always need you to have a human in the loop and review what it's written. So if you see on a glance, it is taking the help of define and evaluate, and also ordering the result at the end. And it is also defining what the logic was at the top. So from the high level, it does attempt on a good first start, but without you reviewing it, you might not be able to directly use it. And after you are done, you can just apply it, keep the query here and apply it in the existing data model. And I think with that, that was the last thing I wanted to show you in terms of demo. I'll quickly go back to the presentation and try to wrap this up.
Yes, go for it. We still have a couple of minutes, so don't worry. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Great. I was just trying to, okay. Here's my presentation visual again.
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we saw the Copilot in action, and we can now get to the point where we want to talk about how you can get started, right? So not every workspace will have Copilot enabled in it, right? So there is a particular licensing requirement that Microsoft offers so that we can enable Copilot. So this I'm talking only on enterprise grade level. So we will need a Power BI Pro or Premium workspace to have this Copilot features enabled. And a lot of these features, including the DAX, is still in preview. It's not for public preview. So you cannot put it in production yet, but it is something that you can play around as a developer. Secondly, you have it preview for users, and access to Copilot chat window will be also the report view feature only. So once we are delivering the report to any of our stakeholders or clients, we will be having the Copilot with it unless it is published on a workspace which is not premium. So normally how it works is after we create a dashboard, we have to publish it on a workspace, which needs to be premium or pro to have this Copilot enabled. And I hope at an individual level, you can explore it even more and see what are the different capabilities and ways we can explore it. And with that, I can maybe sum it up for all of you. Okay, so I talked a lot about productivity and how you can use it as a assistant. So the number one thing that it can do for you and what you can take away from this presentation is Copilot for Power BI is going to be a great tool if you are looking for productivity boost as a Copilot developer or a Power BI developer, and have your results enhanced. Second would be there might be some data trends if you're working a lot with data that might be missed by you, but since it's a machine, it generally has fixed number of things to check and it is able to discover trends that might be missing from you. So that is something that you can help with as well with Copilot as an assistant. And thirdly, better decision making. Now, I think that's a culmination of one and two. So we generally try to transform data and visualize it so that we can take data driven decisions, which is essentially the whole reasoning of creating a dashboard that has so much data. So, of course, with the enhancement and better quality of results that we'll be producing, we will have better decision making, and those insights and visualizations can be further processed to enhance the entire data model. And yes, that is actually all I had. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them as well. And yeah, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Charles.
That was absolutely amazing. Thank you, Saumya. I love how usually we're talking about creating great experiences for our user, but it's good to see like how the experience for developer it's improving thanks to Copilot. So yes, absolutely amazing. Are there any questions for Saumya before we move to our next speaker? Charlie, have a question. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So you tried getting it to generate pie charts and it couldn't do that. Have you found any other limitations with it? Anything that's been frustrating?
Yes, I think a lot of times the data modeling, when not done right, the answers are quite confidently wrong. And, if not checked, then it can really mislead. So that is something we've seen across all the platforms that we are using Copilot on, which is why like user training becomes a huge part of using and also deploying Copilot solutions, which we are doing at a huge scale now. So yeah, I think how it can be solved is by user training and guides and empowering more users to, use it in a more responsible way.
Thanks. With the data model, is it just about the titles of the columns, or is there anything else you can do to help it with that?
No, it's, I think, mostly relationships between the two tables. So not everything would be in a single table. So if there's a question which needs you to take a reference from one table and also see what it is connecting to the next table, those are some little bit complex questions that Copilot sometimes does not able to understand. Again, a lot of things that we can do on our end, from prompting to better relationships, a lot of them that Copilot can enhance is at least say, no, I don't understand the question, and ask a follow-up instead of just answering very confidently that mostly is wrong. So yeah, that is something both parties can do. Yeah.
Cool, thanks. It's interesting.
Yeah.
That was really good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, somebody really liked the pie chart that I created. Thank you so much. Oh, that's you. Okay.
That was me. I thought it looked really
What
cool.
a pie chart that was, I understand. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Sailaja, looking forward to your session as well. And yeah, any other questions, please reach out to me directly. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Yes, if there are any further questions for Saumya, please just use the chat and I believe she'll be happy to answer them. So just very quickly kidnap the share screen to introduce our second speaker for today. It's Sailaja, who will be presenting for us on designing accessible Power Apps, building inclusive experiences for everyone. So over to you, Sailaja, and I hope I didn't butcher your name too much. I'm so sorry.
No, that was perfect. Hey, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, Charles and Anna. It's really interesting and happy to talk to a group that's focused on user experience specifically. Um, and yeah, so my name is Sailaja Mantripragada. Let me share my screen as we go. All right, a little bit about me. Um, I'm a Power Platform specialist. I've been in the IT doing only Microsoft technologies for the last 20 years, a little more than that. And I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. I blog at lowcodepower.com. Mom of two boys, and I'm a Power Addict low code evangelist. I'm extremely excited with the power that low code technologies give at various levels. So that was a little bit about me. And let's get to today's agenda. So we're going to discuss why accessibility matters. What are we talking about? Why is it important? And in the context of Power Apps, today's session will be specifically focused on ensuring we build accessible Power Apps. That would mainly be Canvas apps in this case, because Canvas apps are the applications that allow you to create responsive and custom user experiences. And we talk about the different tools that are available, ensuring that will ensure that you're doing accessibility right. And we'll talk about some limitations and the accessibility mindset. So unlike the previous session that was really action oriented, this will be more human. So let's get started. What does accessibility mean? So in today's day and age, when we have so much technology going on and all the technological advancements, we are continuously focused on the next feature. But I believe it's important to remember and acknowledge that we still build for human beings. So accessibility is not just a compliance checkbox that you check off. It is about ensuring and acknowledging that the users could be anybody. So building accessible applications would mean building for usability, dignity, and independence. So we got to remember that there are different kinds of users who could be facing impairment temporarily, situational wise, or have long-term issues with their abilities to work with the computer. So we could be building for somebody with low vision, um, low levels of hearing abilities, motor impairments, pregnant women, people who, when you say pregnant women, we talk all sorts of uh, ability, settings that they could have cognitive issues going on at that moment of time. There could be like brain fog going on. So when you build an application, when we design applications, it's extremely important to remember that user could be anybody. So now let's focus on what we can look at when we want to build accessible applications. So screen structure and navigation, ensuring that all labels are defined properly. There are descriptions. How do we work with keyboard without worrying about, without having to use a mouse? Color and contrast, ensure that colors are not, they're not going into each other. You're not doing bright yellow and white together kind of thing. Build responsive applications, which means we will go into each of them. So note about alerts and notifications, and then testing and validation. So within Power Apps, right? we're going to talk about the same things, like how do we start? You wireframe the logical layout first. So just design, just maybe pencil sketch something and see logically, functionally how it's going to look. And then start with containers. So containers are, controls within Power Apps that allow you to design responsive Power Apps. Responsive means that, it is completely, uh, it opens up, in the same way, whether you're working on a mobile, um, a tablet, or a desktop experience. And add accessible labels, set tab index, style for contrast. So this is basically what we spoke in the previous slide. Let's start with each of them. So screen structure and navigation, right? Ensure that you use clear screen names and logical order. Group controls with containers. So maintain the tab order. So when you're working with keyboard, I'm sure everybody has experienced. If you're just using the tab, you would like to make sure that your screen goes from the first text box to the last, or from left to right. You follow a tab order, and then avoid hiding critical screen controls off screen. So here there's a little more. I mean, I think I have a slide that talks about tab order and keyboard specifically. So labels, names, and descriptions. So set accessible label for all interactive elements. It could be a button, it could be a text box, a drop down. Ensure, so Power Apps provides a feature called accessibility label. So set accessible label for every interactive element, because a screen reader reads the labels out for users that are not using a mouse or a monitor. So, and you can leave decorative images unlabeled. You do not, so anything on the, like you see on the left hand side with those chevrons or the design, that doesn't need to be labeled. There is a live property within Power Apps for text. So basically, you could set the live property as polite or assertive, or you could turn it off. So what that property does is, um, it tells you when the text changes. So for example, your text says processing, and then after a while the text turns to completed, right? So when you use the live property, the screen reader looks at the text and dynamically reads it for the user, and provide context for status updates. Ensure that you're using things like notify or pop-up boxes that will actually provide updates for messages. So talking about keyboard navigation, tab index of -1 means there's no, that particular control will not fall under the tab order. So if you have, for example, a button that the display mode is read only, you do not want to add tab index to that particular button. So anything that's not interactive, do not just set tab index to -1. And then for anything that's active, you start from a 0 and set the tab index in the logical order. And how do you test it? Just do not use the mouse at all and test navigation only using keyboard, and ensure that from the time the user enters the screen until the user exits, meaning they perform a call to action like a submit or a back, they are able to perform all the actions using just the keyboard. And it's important to also understand the the common patterns that are used across the board. Like enter would mean confirm, and escape would mean cancel. Spacebar would mean actually multiple things. So ensure that you're using consistent key patterns for the common keys that are used. And color and contrast is another important thing to keep in mind. Definitely. So the minimum contrast ratio is 4.5 is to 1 for text, and avoid low contrast themes. Ensure that when you're having the background versus your text, your images versus the background, ensure that the contrast is clearly visible. And test focus outlines for visibility. Microsoft provides accessibility color palette guidance. Um, I've put I've connected, linked to resources at the end of the slide deck, in the last slide. So use guidance to ensure that the color palette guidance is maintained. And always prefer flexible layouts. Create layouts using containers and percentages. Avoid, which is the same as saying avoid fixed pixel dimensions. And also responsiveness also means, how much ever you zoom, the application adjusts to the screen size, right? To the zoom size also. So you make it 200%, it automatically aligns all the controls accordingly. Ensure nothing clips or overlaps, because not all users will be able to see any overlapped controls. And like I mentioned earlier, use live for status messages. The live property, set it to polite or assertive based on the need of the status message involved. And avoid inaccessible overlays. And prefer separate screens. So when you design a screen, you have a form control, you have a gallery, everything in a screen. And if you have to notify the user, create a separate screen for any kind of messages that you want to. So for example, on click of submit button, you want the user to navigate to success screen. You ensure that you create separate screens for any success messages or failure messages. So different inbuilt tools for accessibility testing. Microsoft provides an accessibility checker. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to, I didn't put in like screenshots from Power Apps itself, but Microsoft on the Canvas App Studio, on the Power App Studio itself, while you're creating the application, it shows you um, any accessibility issues. It says you have missing labels, color contrast issues, tab order problems. Also, if it sees that a particular control does not have accessible labels, it flags it in the accessibility checker. So ensure that accessibility checker has 0 issues showing there. You could use a screen reader and test from the screen reader. So ensure there are different screen readers like Narrator, NVDA, and JAWS. You could use one of the screen readers for testing to see how a screen reader reads your application. And like I mentioned earlier, you could also do a keyboard only testing. And here are some external tools. There's a tool called Wave Evaluation Tool, Color Contrast Analyzer, Axe DevTools, and Microsoft Accessibility Insights. It's a good idea to test with different kinds of tools as much as you can. And this, I feel, is the most important piece to start with. I didn't put it at the start because we need to understand what accessibility means and what we are building for. But start your design with accessibility in mind. So that way, you know, bake it into your design from the start, so you don't have to worry about you know delayed work. We've learned it the hard way, building applications and then realizing that there were like 200 controls. We did not put accessibility labels. You do not want to do that from the beginning. It's time taking and overwhelming. So start with accessibility in design and favor built-in controls. So we do have custom components and custom controls you can build, but do favor built-in controls as much as possible because they are built for responsiveness and accessibility to begin with. And to reduce cognitive load on the user, document known gaps so you can actually go back and fix them when possible. Iterate with real users. But like I mentioned earlier, my obsession for low-code tools, Power Apps already allows you to build apps quickly. So iterate with real users, talk to them, and see if different kinds of users are happy, and then iterate accordingly. So this is just a review of what you're supposed to be doing. And so group with containers, add labels, set tab index, style for contrast, test with keyboard and screen reader, validate responsiveness, and iterate. Right. So here, test early, test often, and design with empathy. Do not assume readers, your users are a small, edge case. Find out the different kinds of users you could be building for and bake it in. So here are some resources, and that's pretty much it.
That was great. Thank you so much, Sailaja, for presenting for us today. If you could share those resources in the chat for us in the meantime, that would be amazing. And Are there any questions? Okay, I'll take it as no. So thank you so very much. We always love our session on accessibility. This is one of our main topics to advocate for across entire Power Platform, especially Power Apps. So thank you for bringing the session for us. Oh, we do have a question from Saumya. So Saumya, you can come off from the mute and ask the question. Go for it. Oh no, that was just a clap, not a question. I do it all the time. Instead of clapping, I will raise the hand. So yes, not a great user experience for the teams. Everyone is keep confusing it. Okay, so if there are no more questions, if that's okay, I'll quickly wrap up the call. I'll share my screen again, so I can just quickly cover our next month's call. So next call is in November on the 11th. We're doing something else. We're actually doing a crossover with another user group, Scottish Power Platform user group, and we will host the co-hosts from that user group, Stuart, Charlie, and Josh. They will cover 3 different sessions. So very worth joining if you can make it. You can either scan the QR code to sign for the event, or alternatively, I'm sharing the link to it directly into the chat. And again, all the time zones are displayed. And just moving forward, now my PowerPoint freeze, so just be with me, please. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, our sessions are recording and they will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you don't follow that YouTube channel, that's your opportunity. Also, we have the link tree when you can find all of our links, or you can follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. And I also kindly ask you if you can provide feedback from today's session. Either what to let us know what you thought about today's session, and also what you would like to see in the future, and we will do our best to find speakers and to present for those subjects for you. So if there are no any more questions for today, we're going to close the call a bit earlier than usual, a few minutes to spare. So yes, I don't see any more questions. So thank you so much again to our amazing presenters today, and we're looking forward to seeing you next month.